It's Charter California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance, and we are joined by Mike Ramos. He is the district attorney in San Bernardino County, an announced candidate for Attorney General in 2018, a few years off, and also the man who made Jon Stewart blink. How did you make Jon Stewart blink, sir?
Well, thank you. Briefly,
Of course.
he was talking about, and I'll say it, attacking peace officers across the country for officer-involved shootings.
Right.
And he mentioned one of our cases in San Bernardino County, which wasn't a shooting at all. The individual was tasered and actually died of a PCP overdose. So he was completely wrong. But I did respect the fact that he apologized to this district attorney in the county.
He did. So talk to us about that time, though, because you really were getting a lot of national media attention.
Yeah, well, that time,
happened.
of course, Ferguson was occurring.
Right.
I know the DA in Ferguson, Bob McCullough, a good friend of mine on the National District Attorney's board. I knew ethically he was doing the right thing, as all the reports indicated, both the federal reports, state, the officer was cleared. And then for them to continue to attack the profession, the men and women that protect us on a daily basis, I got fed up with it. So I decided I wanted to be a national voice for our peace officers.
But it begs the question, because look, there is no doubt that we honor, we revere our peace officers. And interestingly, when there was that random shooting from the Hill in Ferguson, where two officers were shot, it did seem as if there was a lot of support behind those officers from all sides. But it does beg the question about the mood towards peace officers. It felt like after 9/11, there was a reservoir of goodwill. How do we get that back?
Well, and that's it. The badge was tarnished, and that's what I said. And I think it was because it was driven, honestly, by the media. You know, when you give all this attention to these people that are not just protesting, First Amendment rights and freedom of assembly, but looting and tearing down and burning stores of locals. And these people weren't from Ferguson; they were from out of town. So you give them all this attention, it's going to, I really drive that, like I said, the tarnished badge image.
What about just general community relations? Because look, in the final analysis, we could take each anecdote and dissect it, but we got to get back to a place where there is that camaraderie, if I could use that word?
No, I think it's communication. I think it's relationships with the community. You hit it. We know in our local law enforcement, we have officers involved with our kids or at-risk youth, involved with sports programs, and so they trust them. And there's some great programs, prevention, intervention programs, but nobody was talking about that. Everybody kept talking about officer-involved shootings and the whole issue of race. And that's an issue that needs to be discussed, but not on the backs of our peace officers. And I thought that was the wrong part.
I want to talk about another issue that definitely needs to be discussed, and that is the question of Proposition 47. Passed in November, pretty big margin, I think 58%. And it essentially reclassified a series of felonies to misdemeanors. Now, I guess one could say there's a silver lining in that our prison population has decreased, which has taken some pressure off of Governor Brown. And again, I'm not taking a position one way or the other, but there are some consequences that were not even anticipated. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the one consequence that was anticipated with the thousands, there's been over 2,500 in my county alone, San Bernardino County, that have been reduced from felons to misdemeanors. We had a great program in drug courts. And we've had a reduction of over 30% now that people are not going to enroll in drug court. There's no incentive.
And let's explain that, because I think it's important that people understand why we've seen this decrease.
Because now, as a felon, part of their terms of probation, you will attend counseling, drug counseling, and if you don't want to go to jail or prison, you're going to get this drug court, you're going to get this done and rehabilitated, and it's work.
And as I understand it, it was used fairly effectively in saying, this is a wobbler, we'll call it. Felony or misdemeanor. If you agree to go to drug court, we will classify it as a misdemeanor.
After you complete it, we can reduce it to a misdemeanor, clean your record, and you can go. And it was working wonders. Now this happens. All these people are bailing shit. I mean, they're just, they're leaving drug court because they said, why do I need to be here? I now have a misdemeanor and no supervision. I'm free to go on the streets and continue to use drugs. And how do people pay for drugs? They have to steal. They have to commit crimes.
At the same time, though, could one argue that our resources, our peace officer resources, are better expended on not possession crimes, but looking toward other crimes.
But there's two populations we're talking about. The population that got retroactively reduced to misdemeanors, these people had some serious and violent felonies in their records, robberies, handguns. But they were still eligible to be reduced under Prop 47.
But they couldn't have been in jail for those prior crimes in which the reduction occurred because
they were.
But how would they get released if they had another violent felony?
That was just in their past.
In their past.
Prior record. So these people they were committing, and here's how we know that's true, is one of the collateral issues or effects that nobody thought about was, we would take DNA swabs from these people.
And we can talk about that. I think that's an important issue.
Right.
The question is, and as we know, under California law, I don't remember the proposition number, but we can
69.
take a swab merely for the arrest of a felon for a felony.
Right.
That went to the courts. It was upheld.
Right.
But if one's arrested for a misdemeanor, one cannot swab. And that's another alleged unintended consequence.
And here's why that's so important. These people we were swabbing, these non-serious, non-violent wobbler felony people, we were solving close to 40%, 37%. We were solving kidnaps, rapes, murders, because these people that were committing the petty theft with the priors, under the influence, possession of heroin, cocaine, they were committing these horrible crimes. Now with 47, we can't take their DNA, so we truly believe victims are suffering, and we're going to have future victims.
Yet, as you know, there is a bill pending right now, AB 390. Assemblymember Jim Cooper, a Democrat, has proposed that Prop 47 be amended. It's not clear to me if we'd have to go back to the voters on that, or if two-thirds.
No. And I know the bill very well because I'm co-sponsoring it with Anne-Marie Schubert, the DA, the new DA in Sacramento County, California. And we put the bill together for the assembly member. And now we have a Republican assembly member, Steinworth, that's co-sponsoring.
Oh, yeah, who's from this area, Mark Steinworth.
Right. So because it doesn't change the constitutional issue of 47, that we can do it by legislative vote only. And so we're going to say misdemeanor convictions, not arrest, but if you're convicted of a misdemeanor that used to be a Prop 47 crime, we should be able to take DNA, and it's going to protect victims. And I think it's a nonpartisan issue. I can't see why anybody.
Two-thirds for that, or will you need 50%?
No, I think we would need. No, I don't know that.
Yeah,
I don't want to answer that.
That's fair. In the final analysis, though, sir, Prop 47 is the law.
Right.
And so how are you making it work?
Sure. And, we can all complain, but we need to come up with solutions.
Right.
One of the things I'm working with the courts now, to change their whole policies and procedures on who can go to drug court. We're trying to get these misdemeanors into drug court because right now they won't take them. Secondly, we have been talking about this for a long time, misdemeanor diversion on certain crimes. Let's get these folks some help rehabilitated before they commit felonies. I truly believe in rehabilitation. What bothered me about Prop 47, we didn't sit at the table and talked about it. It was shoved down our throats.
The initiative process.
The initiative process, and it was a problem.
But at the same time, I presume your jails are not as crowded. You're not releasing as many early.
Sure.
So is that a nice unintended consequence?
There's a positive. There's always a positive to a negative.
And so what is that doing now? Are people serving more time in
those that are
county jails?
Yes, those that are being convicted for AB 109 realignment cases, the non-violent, non-serious criminals, will be able to serve more time in our local county jails. But the problem is, and here's what we're watching, we're seeing our property crimes are starting to increase. There's no help or rehabilitation programs for the Prop 47 people because the money doesn't hit until August of 2016.
Right, the money that's being saved, as I understand it, under 47 is supposed to go into rehab programs.
Not until 2016. So there's nothing out there for these people.
So where do you go from here?
Well, we're continuing to fix it legislatively.
Right.
We may try and make some amendment changes, which is going to have to go back to the voters.
Right.
And we're going to have to come up with these programs to make sure that we keep people from committing these crimes again. And I'm going to sit down with the governor. We're going to be talking about more sentencing modifications in the future.
Okay, his name is Mike Ramos. He is the DA for San Bernardino County, an announced candidate for Attorney General of our great state of California. That election's in 2018. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.